All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Lacrosse U podcast. This is the first episode with a face cam. Bear with me. Don't have exactly the most high-end filming and recording equipment. This is all shot on my phone. So if it sounds like shit, I'm sorry. Hopefully maybe in a couple weeks, maybe a month, get some better equipment. But yeah, wanted to do the face cam. Feel like it's just a better viewing experience. And on Spotify, you can watch the video or you can just use the audio. So figured I'd give the listeners their choice. I meant to make this episode yesterday. I wanted to go through the top 10 teams, their schedules, their upcoming games, then kind of just preview the weekend. We got some Friday games, which is awesome. And yeah, before we get into it, if you guys would do me a huge favor and go follow the podcast on TikTok or Spotify at Lacrosse U podcast. Follow Twitter too if you want to know. Not super active on there, but posted my first couple TikToks last week. I don't know. I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. I did a couple like quick 60-second recap videos with some songs in the background, and I don't know. I got a couple comments and a couple likes, and people seem to enjoy it. So follow me on TikTok. That's probably where I'll be posting some more stuff, and kind of gives me a chance to produce some less formal content, which I think is just more appealing to people. Just gonna be honest, a podcast is just 40 minutes of me just talking to myself. So if you want some shorter content stuff, go over to TikTok and give us a follow there. Leave me a question in the comments too. I want to do a mailbag in the next couple weeks. It can be about lacrosse, it can be about, I don't know, football, basketball, life, anything. Just leave a question, and I want to make just a separate episode just for you guys' questions, so we can get them all in if anyone has them. So let's dive into some lax. Yesterday, like I said, I meant to do this yesterday. I thought Wednesdays kind of would be the best part to do this, middle of the week. There was one game on yesterday. I think it was like NJIT and someone else, not a huge game. And I was going to go through the top 10 and preview the weekend, but life happens. And we adjust. So here today, going to go through the top 10, who they're playing this week, and just a little blurb about each game, and then we'll get out of here. Like I said, we do have some Friday action, which is nice. Not every game is squished into a 2-hour window on Saturday. So starting at number 1, no changes. Obviously, they haven't lost yet, and they're coming off the national championship. Is your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They're 3-0. And this is probably easily the best game of the year so far. It's 1-2, with Notre Dame going down to Maryland to have a rematch of the national championship last year. Teams have changed, I would say, more for Notre Dame, with the obvious departures of Entenmann and Kavanaugh. But Maryland, they return a lot of the same production from last year, and Notre Dame kind of manhandled them in that championship. So I fully expect Tillman to have the guys ready for the Irish when they come to College Park on Saturday. That game will be on Saturday. And yeah, whoever wins that game will be number 1. I imagine if it's close, the loser will be number 2. So just a huge game, and just an awesome game early into the season. I feel like games between number 1 and number 2 teams usually are a little later, but I mean, it'll be the first day of March, and we already got 1 versus 2. So, um, looking forward to that game. Don't really have to go through Maryland. I just kind of talked to them. They're 4-0. They've had two. I think they got probably the 2 best wins so far. They beat Syracuse a couple weeks ago, and then last week they went to Princeton, and I think they only won by 4 goals. But if you watch that game, really for Princeton's offense, if it wasn't Coulter McAsee, they just really couldn't do anything. I was pretty impressed with Maryland's defense, and I'll talk about it every week. But Tillman just understands the sport and how to motivate his guys, and I just have full confidence in them. So that game will be fucking awesome. Hopefully, I would love some overtime, but yeah, just rooting for a good game. Number 3, they played on, is it Wednesday or Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Made a TikTok about it. Is your Cornell Big Red? They played Tuesday against Hobart. Hobart got out to a 3-1 start, and then it was just an onslaught of Cornell goals. They won 22-9, and they had 13 different guys score a goal. Their offensive personnel is it's top heavy with guys like Kirst, Goldstein, and Michael Long, and then you got a couple nice depth pieces with Hugh Kelleher, Will Firth. Just seems like they got guys for days. And talked about it last week. Gonna probably talk about it every single week because the guy's just on an absolute heater. CJ Kirst, another huge game. 6 goals, 6 assists. He only took 12 shots, which is pretty funny. And he's just a dominant offensive player. I talked about it the other day. I don't remember a player, like, you just can't have a short stick on him. He's either going to dodge and go to the net and score, or dodge, draw 2, move it, and probably end up on a goal from some other guy on their offense. So, yeah, just a dominant offensive player. Cornell, they're 3-0. It's kind of a weak start. They played Lehigh, Denver, and like I said, Hobart. Nice little stretch coming up. They got Richmond on Sunday. A little quick turnaround from game on Tuesday. And then 2 weeks they'll play Penn State, and then the Ivy League play will start when they go to Princeton. So 2 top dogs in the Ivy will play 2 weeks from now. But we're going to learn more about this team. It's evident their offense is electric. I kind of want to see how their defense fares against, like I said, a Penn State or a Princeton, just to see how they match up against some tougher competition. But nothing but positive to say about Cornell. And shout out Connor Busick. I keep forgetting that Connor Busick is the coach, and he kind of has. He's not as successful as this guy, but it kind of gives me a little Sean McVay vibes. McVay came into the NFL at 30, easily the youngest head coach ever, and 8 years later, he's just stalwart of the sport, got a Super Bowl, and probably, I don't know, the best or second best offensive mind in the NFL. Busick kind of gives me those vibes. I mean, he's younger and he's got a long road to go, but I feel like I was watching him score goals for Cornell 2 years ago, and now he's going on his 3rd year of coaching the Big Red. So shout out Cornell. Number 4, big jump for UNC after that win against Hopkins. They jumped from 9 to up to 4. Pretty interesting weekend for UNC, Duke, Princeton, and Penn. I don't know if it was like some agreed upon trip this week. I mean, it was because it's on the schedule, but UNC will play Princeton and Penn, and so will Duke. They'll play Penn on Friday, and then they'll play Princeton on Sunday. I'll talk about Duke a little later, but Duke will play Princeton on Friday and Penn on Sunday. So two games within 3 days seems kind of ridiculous to me, but not going to complain about watching. I mean, two just electric lefties, and of course talk about Petro Jr. for UNC and Coulter McAsee for Princeton. So that'll be on Sunday. Friday, though, a nice little matchup for them against Penn. Penn's defense last week, they held Delaware to 2 goals. Not saying Delaware is the, 2014 Duke team, but you hold the top 20 team to 2 goals. I don't care who it is. I'm going to be impressed with the defense. So that'll be a nice little match for UNC. And then Sunday, they'll play Princeton and get to see the 2 lefties go at it. So big kind of weekend for UNC. They can make up some ground, and I mean, they could leave the weekend 5-0 if they walk away with 2 W's. Army is number 5. I got some thoughts on Army. Their defense is suffocating and definitely good. Their offense, I mean, they got guys up and down from the Plunkett brothers to Gunnar Fellows to the leading freshman in the country, Braden Fountain. So, I mean, they were going to put up goals and they're going to stop guys from scoring goals. Their schedule's an absolute joke. Just kind of looking, they got Lafayette on Saturday, and I think like BU and 2 other weak opponents. I mean, they got a chance to be 8-0 heading into UNC on March 29th. And then we'll really get to see how good they are, but I don't know. I'm going to wait to see on Army because, like I said, they're 4-0, easily the weakest schedule of the top 10, and it's not even close. So kind of want to wait and see for them. Like I said, though, they got guys everywhere, and I think they've earned the pedigree of they're just going to be a tough team to play come May. So give me a couple more games, and then I'll have a more definitive take on Army. Number 6, Hopkins. They dropped down 3 spots after losing to UNC. They have also had a pretty weak schedule other than the Tar Heels. And they were 4-0, number 3, going into that UNC game, and they finally played a team who's got equal or better talent than them, and they lost. So this weekend is probably the most fascinating game to me. Not necessarily for Hopkins, but for who they play in UVA. UVA, obviously, slow start to start the season. They're 2-2. Just got absolutely worked by Coach Myers in Ohio State last week. And they just if you switch the helmets on those 2 teams last Saturday, you just thought that was the result of the last 10 years of the sport. But talked about it last week. I think UVA is really missing not only Schellenberger, but Cormier and Xander Dixon is another guy. But I feel like Schellenberger was due for just 2 goals and a couple assists, and Cormier was going to have a hat trick in the first half. It was just kind of set your watch and forget it. If they lose this game to Hopkins, drop to 2-3 on the season, and we haven't even started ACC play, I don't know. It's just got a chance to spiral on Coach Tiffany and the Cavaliers. And I feel like they're going to get Hopkins' best effort after they just lost to UNC. So going to be watching the Maryland Notre Dame game, obviously, but I got significant eyeballs on that UVA Hopkins game. I wanted to say that UVA bounces back and they make it competitive and win, but their offense is just kind of average. And if the three guys, Colsey, Sunderland, and Millen aren't like going off, I don't think they're gonna win many games, but very interesting game. UVA and Hopkins. 7, talked about it a little, but Duke, they have the same UNC weekend with Princeton and Penn. They'll just switch who they play. So they'll play Penn Sunday and Princeton Friday. I have not been overly impressed with Duke. They're 4-0. They beat Michigan last week in overtime. But similar to UVA, feels like they're just missing Brendan O'Neill and really haven't found the guy to step in to. I mean, you don't replace a guy like that, but I feel like they would have supplemented his workload so far. It was good to see McAdory kind of get back in the swing last week. He scored a hat trick, including the game winner. So I need to see them play some ACC teams. I don't really have a firm take on Duke. If they walk out of this weekend with 2 wins and they jump up to 6-0 with 2 wins over Penn and Princeton, they will earn some respect in my book after that. Number 8, Princeton. They're 1-1. They, as I just said, Army has the weakest schedule of the top 10. Princeton has, I mean, they got thrown to the gates of hell to start the season. Read this off. So they started week 1, number 11 Penn State. Last week they lose to number 2 Maryland. This week they have to play number 4 UNC and number 7 Duke within 3 days of each other. Then they get Rutgers next week. Rutgers is obviously different than those other teams, but don't sleep on the Scarlet Knight defense. And then the first game of Ivy play for them will be Cornell, number 3, in 2 weeks. So they've played, after this weekend, they'll have played 4 games, and all 4 of those teams will be in the top 11. Just an insane start to the season, and I'm not going to blame them if they kind of fall. If you told me they lose both to Duke and UNC, I wouldn't be surprised, and I also, depending on how the game goes, wouldn't be like that disappointed in Princeton. I just never seen a schedule like this in my life. If they walk out of here wins against Duke and Penn, not Duke and Penn, Duke and UNC, excuse me, I would immediately vault them, I don't know, to number 4, right behind Cornell, maybe depending on how Cornell faces against Richmond on Sunday, maybe they move up to that 3 spot if they walk out of this weekend with 2 wins. Number 9, Penn State. I don't know what it is about Penn State this season. They're just like kind of blah to me. Matt Traynor, obviously, fantastic start to the season. He's got 18 goals, I think, and another 6 assists. I don't know what it is. They just don't really do it for me. And this weekend, I'm going to be on it. They're playing Yale. Yale, from what I've seen, just disgusting offense. Got spanked by Army was that last week? Yeah. And I don't know. Game just doesn't really do anything for me. Tell me when Ohio State's playing Maryland, Ohio State, and Hopkins, and then we'll get some more Nittany Lions take. As of right now, I don't know. Good on Coach Tambroni. They're 3-1. Like I said, I need a couple more games. Finishing out the number 10. It's funny. I kind of thought, even though they lost last week, just because I feel like the media continuously hypes them up, I'm a little to blame to that, and I'm talking about Syracuse. They fall to number 11. So Georgetown's number 10. I don't know if I said that, but I kind of thought even though Syracuse lost to Harvard last week, they'd maybe just move down a couple spots, stay in the top 10, and I don't know, go from there. But they didn't. They dropped to 11. So Georgetown's sitting at 10. They played Brown this weekend. Brown got their first win last week. Shout out Coach Torpy and Bruno and Connor Foley. Can't say enough about Connor Foley. He's just an absolute brick wall in net last week. So Georgetown will go to Providence to play Brown. Georgetown kind of similar to Penn State. They just kind of whatever to me. I was impressed with the comeback last week against Notre Dame. They could have easily rolled over when it was 6-0 and got absolutely destroyed, but they tied it up. They end up losing by 2. I don't know, though. I don't know if they have the pieces to really compete come May. Their offense is just kind of whatever. If Aiden Carroll or Fulton Bayman aren't scoring, then I don't really know what they have. That finishes the top 10. Like I said, Syracuse number 11. They dropped 6 spots after that loss to Harvard. I got a bone to pick, though, with who's ever making these polls. Tell me how, and I'll ride these guys till the day the season ends this year. My Richmond Spiders. I get it was against Lehigh and they almost lost. How do you move down a spot after a win? I will never understand that. They moved from 13 to 14 with a win. It's all right though. Keep sleeping on the Spiders. I will be glued to the TV on Sunday when they play Cornell. I think Cornell's probably going to win, but I think it's a nice little test for both teams. Nice little measuring stick for Richmond. They get to see how they play against one of the top dogs. And for Cornell, they just kind of play a feisty, tough, gritty team. I mean, they knocked off... If they can beat UVA, UVA is obviously down this year. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that because then I'll say that and Cornell will score 35 on Sunday and win by 20. But I think it'll be a good game. That is probably going to do it. A little quicker episode. I feel like the longer these go, I'm just rambling and not really like saying anything of substance. So we'll end it there. So happy that we have Friday lacrosse tomorrow. I am working late though, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to watch the games live, but I'll go back and watch them somehow. I want to watch that Duke-Princeton game tomorrow very bad just to see where Duke is, where Princeton is after that Maryland loss, and yeah, and then Saturday full slate of games. Wish they were a little spread out, but most of the games take place at noon. The 2 o'clock game that I kind of fasted with is Syracuse and Utah. I don't know if Utah's the greatest team. Their offense is pretty good. Week 1, they scored 19 on Ohio State, and Ohio State held UVA to 5 last week. So interested to see how the Syracuse defense bounces back because they got some problems, that Q's defense. The offense, they're going to score 15 goals a game. As long as Spallina is breathing and like has 2 legs, they're going to score 15 goals every game. The question becomes now, are they going to give up 15 goals every game? Or can they have some pride and just kind of buck up? So full weekend slate. I'd like to come back maybe Sunday after the games, get a nice quick reaction to you know what, that's what I'll do. After the Cornell-Richmond game on Sunday. Hold on, let me look up. This is bad podcasting, but quick. cool. Inside Lacrosse doesn't have the times for Sunday. Word. But we'll figure it. I would like to go live after the Cornell Richmond game. Recap the Sunday games first because the Sunday games are pretty good. And then hit the Friday games, hit the Saturday games. Do a little weekly awards. Yeah. And then hopefully be back. I want to try to keep doing the midweek on Wednesday. Just feel like it's the best time to do it. There's usually not games on Wednesday. They're usually Tuesday, Thursday, so we'll see. But schedule is just like the college lacrosse schedule. When no one knows what the hell's going on, my schedule is kind of the same. So, I gotta keep plugging I keep forgetting to plug everything. But if you want to follow the podcast on Spotify, it's at Lacrosse U Podcast. Follow me on TikTok. I'm a TikTok wizard. Probably like to clip some of this and get it up on TikTok. YouTube. I don't have an Instagram. I don't really see the point of an Instagram for this, but Twitter as well. TikTok, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube. Those are the big four. All at Lacrosse U Pod. Leave a question in the comments or tell me if tell me my voice sucks. Tell me I don't know ball. Tell me what you had for breakfast. Just put something in the comments and I'll make an episode hopefully a couple weeks maybe with all the questions in the comments, and we'll do a mailbag. I've always liked when people do that. So yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we will see you on Sunday.